propose we get started. Hold on, let me change one more setting. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this opening session for the next Humanitarians Network of the Humanitarian Networks and Partnerships Week 2024. We're very happy that you could all join us online in this first week of the event, which is taking place completely online. Throughout the week, we will have multiple sessions that are aimed at the next humanitarians. We'll tell a bit more about that in a minute. But you can already see an overview here of some of the sessions that are starting this Friday, next week in hybrid form, and of course, the closing ceremony, the closing session at the end of it. We'll go into more detail over these sessions in the next hour or so. But very first, we want to use this session to welcome you to the HNPW24. My name is Kenny Meesters. I'm a researcher and lecturer at Tilburg University, specialized in information management. And I'm proud to be hosting this session together with Kieto, Alex, and my fellow organizers, which I introduce to you in a minute. We're happy that you could join us, but maybe it's good to start a little bit about who we are and what we aim to do with this network. Over the past years, we've seen that there is an increased need for people with certain expertise, with certain capacities and capabilities in the humanitarian sector. And we'll hear more about that from our speakers. At the same time, we also see that there's more and more young people, and I'm speaking a bit of experience here from my own university, that are interested in getting involved in the humanitarian sector, that want to contribute to making a better world. People that are eager not to just work for corporations and organizations for the sake of financial gain, but who want to use their skills, their expertise, and their experience to help make a better and safer world. The goal, however, we often see a challenge, however, in that. Often young people don't even know that this world that we are part of, the humanitarian community, and things within it, like the HPW, exist. And even if they do, they don't necessarily know how to best leverage their skills, their experience, their knowledge to contribute to this humanitarian community. So with this network, we aim to help them bridge that gap. We want to make sure that young people are aware that there is a world, a humanitarian world, where their expertise, whatever it is needed. Whether it's logistics, information management, psychology, law, or just experience of volunteering in your community. At the same time, we also want to make sure that we equip those young people with, the 600 or so acronyms you will hear in the next weeks, by giving them the knowledge and a bit of background so they have a soft landing in this humanitarian community. And finally, we want to make sure that we create opportunities and help them use those opportunities to get involved. And this HNPW is one of those prime examples, is one of those events where we do our best to bring in the young generation, not just by offering sessions, but also by offering them advice on which sessions to attend, by encouraging them to speak up, and where necessary, help to facilitate connections. What exactly we're going to do in HNPW24, we're going to tell you a bit later, but we do want to extend a warm welcome to all of you, both the humanitarian community that's already there, as well as the next generation. Over the past years, we've done several events and at HNPW and around it, and we always see interesting interactions between a next generation of humanitarians, whether they're scholars, volunteers, early career professionals coming in with fresh ideas, challenging the status quo, but also offering and helping to build solutions. And this is what we want you to also do at this HNPW. Go to the sessions, talk to the humanitarian community, and help them with your ideas. Don't be afraid to speak up. At the same time, we also ask the current humanitarian community, the current generation, to open up to welcome this next generation, because they are the humanitarians of tomorrow that will eventually take over, will run the systems, will contribute to building a better world. So investing some time, effort, and openness to them now will also benefit the humanitarian community currently, but also in the future. Now, with those remarks, I just want to tell you that, of course, I'm speaking, but I'm not the only one organizing it. There are, for this HNPW24, we have a group of 6 people and many more in the background helping us. You see them listed here. So Kieto, who's also on the call here, as from Hanken Humlock Institute, Gustavo from Mines Saint-Etienne, Jörg Szasinski from the United Nations University EHS in Bonn, Michael Wang from Global Youth Philanthropy, Alexander and myself from Tilburg University. And then there is a number of people and students who are supporting us with all kinds of practical things at the background as well. So warm thank you to all of them helping to put together not only this opening session, but also all the other sessions and activities that will follow. Having said that, going a bit into the HNPW24, you might have heard yesterday in the opening remarks and seen on the website, there are areas of common concern. These are thematic areas that will come back throughout HNPW24. And this is not related to any specific network or any specific field or expertise, but rather challenges, developments that the humanitarian community wants to tackle going forward. And this is also where I think there's an important linking pin between the next generation and the current generation. These topics might be where you could bring in your expertise, whatever your background is, and connect with the humanitarian community. We'll talk a little bit more about these areas of common concern later on, but we do want to go a bit through the opening, the remarks in the agenda. So this was a short welcome and introduction from my side. I will hand it off to our speakers because we have some opening remarks from the people who are currently running the humanitarian system, including the emergency response branch, as well as people behind the scenes and in front of the scenes of the HNPW24, and people who have been a participant with us in the past and are now in the humanitarian system. After that, we'll do a bit of icebreaker, getting to know each other a little bit more, and then we'll tell you about the next steps and the next sessions. That's the agenda. So we'll start with a bit of the opening remarks, and I would like to give the floor to Sebastian Rhodes-Stampa, the chief of the Emergency Response Section at UN OCHA, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, to share a bit with you why, where we are as a humanitarian community, the challenges we face, and also where the next generation could contribute and could play a role in. Sebastian, thank you so much for joining us. Can I give you the floor, please?
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. And thanks to the organizing team. And thank you all for attending and giving us an opportunity to maybe talk about a little bit of what we do and how you can be part of that. My name is there. I run most of the emergency response tools and services that OCHA provides to humanitarian emergencies in service of the people we serve. It's been a busy few years. A couple of years ago, just after the start of the Ukraine conflict, I was the deputy head of the response operation there, based out of Dnipro. Last year, I spent 4 months in Turkey responding to the earthquake there with the tools and services that we bring to bear. Urban search and rescue teams, over 3,500 people working to dig people from out of the rubble. Our rapid response teams, the United Nations Disaster Assessment Coordination teams, over 100 of our people trying to bring a bit of sense to the chaos that was going on there. And late last year, I was in Gaza rebuilding the UN response there, along with the head of operations for UNRWA. So I move about a bit, my staff move about a bit. We have an awful lot to do. The world is a fairly wicked place. This year, just to give you an idea, we reckon there are about 300 million people around the world who will need humanitarian assistance and protection, primarily due to conflicts, climate change, climate emergencies, and other drivers. We've appealed for nigh on $50 billion to target 180.5 of those people in various contexts. The three main drivers we're dealing with at the moment is conflict. The world has experienced more conflicts, which are more entrenched with devastating consequences for civilians. The global climate emergency and the climate crisis is spiraling, leaving a trail of destruction in its path. And economic factors, economic dynamics are overlapping with conflict, climate disasters, infectious disease outbreaks, and others as a significant driver of humanitarian crisis. Some stats off the top of my head: 1 in 5 children is living in or fleeing from conflict. 1 in every 73 people in the world is currently forcibly displaced. The situation is pretty grim, and what we cannot keep on doing is the same thing time and time again. The Global Humanitarian Overview, which is the collection of all of our appeals, as I say, $50 billion, that goes up by 10% every year. Clearly, the way we are doing things now is not sustainable. The money isn't there, the people aren't there, the resources aren't there. So what are we going to do differently? Well, firstly, we have to innovate. We need new ideas. We need new thinking. We need to move away from response into anticipatory action, into better preparing countries to deal with their own disasters. Yet we need to maintain significant capacity to deal with conflicts, whether it be Gaza, Sudan, the Sahel, take your pick. There's so many going on at the moment. Innovation requires new minds. It requires young minds. It requires new thinking. We're very good at doing what we've always done, but we're not very good at innovating. Innovating does not come from people like me. I'm far too old. It comes from young people. It comes from new eyes, a new fresh set of eyes looking at problems in a different way. We need to localize. The idea that the United Nations of old, in which you have a bunch of Europeans flying off to some part of the global south to go and solve people's problems, other people's problems out, it's not the way we should be working. We should be working hand in glove with the communities that are affected, that are impacted, and helping them to help themselves. We need to finance differently. We need to look at how we finance operations, and we need to do that at a local level. We need to support the development of regional and sub-regional bodies that are going to be the ones that carry the humanitarian torch into the future. We need people from regions that are affected to help people in those regions. So we need to change a number of different dynamics. We need to be cleverer. We need to make the few resources we have go further. And there are a number of different ways of doing that. And at the HNPW, whether you attend online or you attend in person, and you're very welcome, you will hear about the common areas of concern, whether it be accountability to affected populations. We serve people. We are servants. We're not heroes. We don't ride around on horses, snatching up, whatever it is. We are servants. We need to be doing better, and we need to be accountable to the people we serve. You'll hear about gender-based violence. Disasters, for instance, disproportionately affect women and children. Humanitarian response is overwhelmingly male, and that needs to change. The last thing you need as a woman affected by a sudden onset natural disaster is to see a group of hairy Europeans turning up. You want somebody you can talk to, somebody you can relate to, and that's critically important. We'll talk about humanitarian financing and how we can change that. We'll talk about the need to finance locally, the need to use cash rather than in-kind assistance as a method of serving the people that we do. If you give people cash, whether it's mobile cash, unconditional cash, there are lots of different ways you can do cash, and there are lots of associated risks. But if you give somebody cash rather than beans or hammers and nails, you empower them to make decisions about how they want to help themselves. They can't do it in every environment, but you can do it in most. What does that do? If you move towards cash, what does that do to the current construct of the humanitarian community? Well, if people can use cash to get what they need, why the hell would you need people who distribute food? Why would you need people who distribute medical equipment? Why would you need these things? In every disaster, or conflict, the four top areas of need are food, health, shelter, and wash, which is water, sanitation, and hygiene. If you can give people money to make informed decisions about their future and how they want to help themselves, then fundamentally you are changing the way in which the humanitarian system currently works. It is predicated on outdated thinking, and it needs young minds to change that. So my message to you, I think, would be, it is one of the most rewarding and exciting jobs I think you could possibly have. I've had a few. I used to be a soldier, then I worked for my government. That sucked. And I would never work for a bank, so I never wanted to do that. But being a humanitarian has given me a huge amount in terms of food for the soul, in terms for cash to put my kids through school. It's not well paid, but it's not badly paid. In terms of working with some of the most extraordinary people that I've ever come across in some of the most dire situations. And for natural disasters, I've had the privilege of seeing the extraordinary resilience of people who've lost everything and yet would still give you the shirt off their back. In conflicts, I've seen some of the bravest people just recently in late last year going out day in, day out under fire to help people, to bring food to people, to bring medical supplies, to bring critical medical supplies to hospitals under fire. It's quite extraordinary. It is exhilarating. It is also incredibly, I'm English and I've forgotten the word. It's an incredible privilege to do what my colleagues and I do. And I don't think any of us would do anything else. And if you're interested in this line of work, it's not work, it's a vocation. If you're interested, please, we need young minds, we need new ideas, and we need to change the system. And there's only one way that'll change, and that's by getting fresh blood into it. Thanks, Kenny.
Thanks, Sebastian, for those remarks. And yeah, I can totally relate to the software engineering background myself. Can I ask you, Sebastian, maybe one or two questions? What would be your advice for, you know, this next generation or this next humanitarians in general? You know, how to, not many people might not know, they might be motivated and they ask, the question would be, now what? Where do I start? And maybe related to that, what would you recommend as an advice going into HNPW24 for them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think Anna, who's on screen, is a better person to ask, because she's going through the process at the moment, the ups and the downs. But I mean, I can tell you it's not an easy system to get into. You need to have your academic qualifications, obviously. Having a strong background in languages, being multilingual, I think is really important. I don't think I'd get a job in the UN nowadays. Everybody's a lot cleverer than me. Perseverance is absolutely critical. You need to persevere. The system is not geared to helping young people. It should be, but it's not. I think you need to make the contacts, to find out about about the system as much as you can. A lot of people think that the United Nations is some sort of homogenous, or if you're American, homogeneous whole, and it's not. It is a very disparate organization. The Secretariat, to which I belong, is governed by the Secretary General, and some would comment, whoever the individual is, more Secretary than General, because they do not control the broader UN, the agencies, the funds and programs of the United Nations, the World Food Programme, UNICEF, UNHCR. They each have their executive head and they have executive boards. And then it's about so much more than the UN. It's about the International Committee of the Red Cross and Crescent. It's about the International Federation of the Red Cross, Crescent, and Crystal, if you're that way inclined. It's about the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations. It's about civil society, and more than anything else, it's about the people we serve. So you could look at working, for instance, in the United Nations. You might want to work for an NGO, and you could do that nationally. You could do that internationally. You might want to work for the Red Cross, the ICRC. If you're Swiss, it's a little bit easier, but that's gradually opening up. So it's a huge community. It's a huge family. Sometimes it behaves like a family. There's lots of squabbling and silliness, but getting to know that is I think critical. And what the HNPW does that I think is so valuable, quite apart from the thematic areas of interest, the exhibits and so on and so forth, it brings people together. It brings online thousands of people together. In person, well over 1,000 people together. And that is an opportunity for networking, to talk to people, to find out about what you might want to do, what other people do, what they think. Thomas, for instance, who really largely runs the HNPW and has for some time, has a particular set of skills. Anna on the screen has a particular set of skills and is going through the process of trying to get into the international system. It's not an easy one. I have done a fair bit of leadership stuff and response stuff. Come and talk to us. And if we don't make time, kick us in the shins, because we should. So I think the HNPW for me is an opportunity to come, to see, to interact, to learn, to drink beer, to have a pizza. And you'll see people there, not just humanitarians from across the community. You'll see governments, you'll see donors, you'll see military organizations, you'll see academia, you'll see the Red Cross, the Red Crescent. All of these people will be there, and it's an opportunity. We have had, actually, a few of our interns have gone on to get jobs through meetings they had at the HNPW. So I think it's an opportunity, it's a platform that's worth seeing. I think if you're interested in this sort of work, it is definitely something you want to do. If you're undecided about where you want to work, it's an opportunity to eat fondue and think about it. And if you don't want to work in the humanitarian system, I wouldn't bother coming, because it really is geared towards that. And I'd say in ending, we always talk about the humanitarian system, but there is a whole ecosystem out there that goes beyond humanitarian aid, the development world, which works throughout in far more countries than the humanitarian system does. And one might say offers more permanent fixes to some of the drivers of crisis that I've been talking about. So, it's a wonderful ecosystem. They're generally extremely decent people, and it's a very, very interesting week.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, for sharing those insights and also this call to action. And I think later, and we'll also hear from Thomas Peter about more practical insights, how to get the most out of HPW. But indeed, like having an expertise, being clear about yourself, what you can bring to the humanitarian community, and also being aware that when we talk about humanitarian community, we tend to think about like the UN, the EU, the Red Cross. But as you said, there's a whole range of actors, including regional and local, that play a significant role. So it doesn't always have to be the big ones if you want to get involved. And keeping an eye open for that also creates opportunities. Thank you so much for sharing, Sebastian. Much appreciated. With that, and I think it was already alluded to a little bit, I would like to give the floor to one of the driving forces behind HNPW for the past years, and the person responsible for a lot of the emails you've received and making sure that we get those 300 sessions all done in the next 2 weeks, but also behind one of the most prominent systems that we use in emergency response from the emergency response support branch. I would like to give the floor to Thomas Peter. And you can see him now on camera. I've really done my best, but he's one of the few people you can't find with pictures on the internet, I noticed. So maybe a mysterious personality, but Thomas Peter, thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to give the floor to you, please.
Thank you, Kenny. This must be a trauma for you not finding photos of me on the internet, because you mention this every year. Maybe I put one for you.
I keep trying.
So if you allow, I share my screen because I have prepared. Let's see if they managed to get this going here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Okay. As Kenny said, I'm Thomas Peter, working in OCHA for the last since 1995, so it's quite a long time. Have been supporting different fields of our work from Geneva in the headquarters, including our response systems. And for the last 10 years, I've been tasked to organize the HNPW, which has grown from a small network meeting to a big conference with now some 50 or 60 networks and partnerships who organize their sessions, with more than 320 sessions registered live and online with 66 exhibition stands physical, and we have a virtual exhibition area as well. So it is growing every year in terms of numbers. In terms of participants, we had some 9,000 registered participants last year, according to our statistics. We don't know if they really all attended the sessions, but we assume so. We had more than 1,200 participants at the Geneva event. So it's a big conference. What I have to say before I start into the opportunities for you and for everybody else who attends the event is that we as a secretariat, we do not invite participants. We do not organize the schedule. We invite networks and partnerships to organize their own meetings, and we encourage them to organize collaborative meetings in these 9 areas of common concern. And it's like a big fair of like-minded people who come together to work together to take the opportunity. So it has a lot of own dynamics. It's a self-organizing system in the sense. It's not that we fill out an empty schedule and fill the slots. So we try to accommodate the requirements. We try to accommodate all wishes for sessions, for good ideas, and we encourage collaboration, particularly in these 9 areas of common concern. So we ourselves do not engage in the contents, but we make sure that the contents and the coordination in the contents, particularly in these areas of common concern, are well coordinated. So each of these areas has one lead, a person who does this on a voluntary basis from one of the networks that is most concerned about the respective area. And they would then facilitate and coordinate all the sessions that are organized in these areas. Altogether, we have 140, more than almost 150 sessions in these areas of common concern alone, which is a lot to squeeze into this fairly short 2 weeks, and to make sure that there's no overlap, that there are not 2 similar sessions to the same theme in the same time slot. So I've extracted a few opportunities that you might want to consider when you attend the event, either remotely or in person, and also how you might want to follow up afterwards in the year, in the follow-up of the event, in the preparations for the next year's event. First of all, it's an opportunity to understand the complexity of the humanitarian landscape. I think Sebastian mentioned this very clearly and very illustrative, how vast the environment of different actors, different themes, different sectors, different activities are, different challenges that are cross-cutting in different domains, and how NGOs, non-governmental organizations, member states, regional organizations, the military, academia, and even the media work together to find solutions. It is not that the United Nations is governing, is giving instructions how this whole thing should run. It's really a very dynamic system, and the dynamics, if they are coordinated and managed well and driven well, they can come up with an enormous positive output. We are happy to say that the HNPW has evolved to contributing to this development of having this space, this platform, this area where we bring these different actors together to exchange ideas and I want to emphasize this, in a non-political environment. It's a practitioner event, enthusiastic people coming together who have a lot of experience about the challenges in the field, about the challenges at headquarters, how to come up with and introduce new concepts and how to implement them, how to raise the resources and funding, etc. for those. So there's a lot of know-how that comes together. It's vast. So that is one thing you have to understand when you enter the HNPW. Alone, if you go to the event program and you want to select a few sessions that might interest you, you get lost. 320 sessions is a lot. You can read the abstracts, but then you might not even know what the whole thing is about. So that's something. Don't be afraid. Be encouraged and to find out more when you look at this event. The next thing is that you understand key priorities and challenges. The areas of common concern, they help us to organize a little bit to put these different themes into categories. But each of these areas of common concern, first of all, they are not exclusive. There are more areas that are cross-cutting, but we cannot overload it. So we really agreed on those where we feel that the networks and partnerships that attend and organize the HNPW together, that they can have an influence. There are issues, for example, humanitarian funding and these kind of things, which even if we discuss it here, our forum has no leverage to make changes. We can complain about it, that it should be better, but we can't really do anything. So these 9 areas are really something where we feel that we can achieve constructive and positive impact if we work closer together and build on best practices and to identify innovative solutions to challenges that are recurring. The priorities, it's also these 9 areas are a little bit vast. Climate crisis, anticipatory action, accountability to affected populations, the nexus environment, inclusion, localization, organizational culture, humanitarian security, risk analysis. All these are big areas, and we made a few attempts to unpack them into smaller sections because each of them has different components to it that are fairly unrelated, even though they deal with the same issue, but they have different aspects to look at it. So when you see these different sessions that are organized in these areas of common concern, you see that some of them look at the same problem from completely different angles, be it more field-based or region-based, be it more headquarter policy-driven, be it more innovative and using new technologies like artificial intelligence to support some of these things. So all this is something you have to understand. There's no easy answer. It is not easy to understand the problem, but what is necessary is that we use the same terminology. We have a same understanding of the problems. We have a same understanding of the components that are in these areas, that we can work together identifying solutions, and we more or less speak the same language. Another challenge is exactly that language. It's not about English and Spanish and Chinese, the languages we speak. It's also the terminology we use. If you have different backgrounds, academia, scientists, humanitarian workers, member states, politicians, and different people from different backgrounds come together, they use different jargon to talk about the same problem. And it is challenging to understand what we mean when we say certain things. And this is another thing that the Partnership Week supports to shed light on this. The next one is, of course, identifying opportunities for engagement and support. Again, Sebastian has said there are different ways where you can engage further. If once you have an understanding who the actors are, what area is interesting you, is you're in your comfort zone, or what is something outside your comfort zone, but you would really like to learn more about it and engage and help and support. There's always opportunities to support as a volunteer, to reach out, to understand what's going on, and to talk and make yourself smart about some of these issues. So be open, be creative, and I think Sebastian also said this, and I don't fully agree with him. It is not the age where innovation comes from. It's not young people are more innovative than older ones. So I think Sebastian, even though he's very humble about this, he has a lot of capacity to, and he's very innovative. It's about creativity a little bit. You have to be ready to look at things outside the box, and you have to be ready to discuss and move away from perceptions that you have, prejudice you have, and look at things from an open mind, because a lot of new ideas require actually that you step outside of your own way of thinking, because not only do different people think different cultures also think differently, work differently. You have to understand that this what is compatible. So that's another thing that you might want to explore. What I would encourage you in this context: don't impose yourself. Don't appear, if you attend the event, that you only come around with your business cards and you try to sort of look for employments. That is not a good practice that we don't want to see the event. But we very much encourage you to reach out to those who are you interested in, the agencies, the organizations, the individuals, and contact them and see how you can work with them and engage further. And this leads to the next point. It might give you inspirations for your own career. because again, Sebastian said it, this field is vast and there are so many opportunities in all areas. If you're a scientist, if you're a journalist type background, if you want to do humanitarian work like firsthand, going out and do the field work, if you want to sit more into strategic panels to analyze information and to take decisions and to come up with strategic plans, all this is possible. If you want to organize events like I'm doing now, then it's another activity. It's vast. So there are different opportunities. There are different actors. Again, Sebastian said it. They are in the field, in your own country, local, national, or international, regional. So you have an opportunity here to maybe be inspired how you continue your own path. And last, and most importantly, or very importantly, you meet people, you connect. Sebastian said it also, you go for beer or soft drink or whatever you like. You have a pizza or something else. You just meet, have a coffee, you talk. The venue itself, for those of you who have been there, for the face-to-face is great for it, because in the outside the sessions, or even during the whole day, there are many people in the corridors, and you always find space to meet, to discuss, to join bigger groups or smaller groups, to engage, and also to join the sessions and engage actively in the group discussions they have. And there you meet people because you actually have something concrete to talk about. So it should be an inspiring event altogether. If you attend remotely, you have more or less the same opportunities, because you can in principle reach out to a much wider audience than when you are in the face-to-face week, because you have the limitation of space and time, and you can't meet everybody who is there. You can't meet 1,200 people. Online, you can actually take the advantage of connecting to a lot of people, engaging in the follow-up activities when and in the interactive sessions that will be hosted. So I think that would summarize. I hope this was useful for you. It gave you a little insight about the event, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you either remotely or face-to-face.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing that. Yeah, I think the things you mentioned are very relevant. So those of you who registered with us, you should have gotten an email yesterday where it lists relevant areas of common concern to you. So you can use that on the website to help you identify sessions that might be relevant to your interests. So we've done our best looking at your motivations and your study and your background to see which areas of common concern might be relevant to you. So you can use that as a starting point, but of course, you're welcome to browse other sessions. And yeah, there's been, a lot of bad things happening to COVID, but one of the things that I appreciate is that HPW has really become more global by the virtue of organizing hybrid and online sessions, which really opens up, especially for young people who don't have the resources to travel to Geneva to participate. So yeah, don't be afraid to, as Tom said, to use the sessions, to raise your hand, to speak up. Many of them offer options to chat or to interact or participate in those sessions. So those are also networking opportunities. Thomas, maybe one final question for you. If you would participate in the HNPW for the first time, what will be your most important action, or what would be your most important advice for somebody going in for the very first time?
I think the most important thing I would suggest is to stay out of your comfort zone. I see sometimes people who go in the big event like this, where thousands of people in different organizations are running. It depends very much on your personality. For some people, it comes easier than for others. But then you find someone you know, or you come with your friend and you stick together with this guy all the time, and you don't meet many people, or you only engage very superficially in sort of small talk, let's say. I think the challenge is to really identify where you can connect in a more substantive and more sustainable manner with any of these participants. It is not a cocktail party in that sense, where you just come in and enjoy yourself and meet a few guys superficially. It is really something substantive. The faster you understand what the issues are that are of concern, the faster you, or the more you engage in the constructive discussions with people, the better you can use the opportunity of the networking. So that's what I would say. Don't stay alone. Don't stay with your friends. Don't stick with these two guys you know and then hang out in a small group. Reach out, meet people. And my experience is everybody is very open, but to engage, to talk to new people, to meet, and to provide opportunities. So I think that I've never seen anybody who was rejected not joining a discussion or introducing himself or herself, and it was kind of not welcome. So that would be my primary suggestion.
All right, thank you, Thomas, so much for sharing those remarks. We'll move to our third and final speaker, and perhaps the most tangible or relatable presentation or remarks from somebody who joined HPW, and now I have to say it correctly, I think in 2021, and then actually still here 3 years later, and has moved from being the next generation to actually sort of the current generation. So Anna Tau, she can share her story with you that might serve as a bit more practical insights and inspiration of making that transition from being interested or inspired to actually being involved in the humanitarian community. Anna, can I give you the floor? I have your slides, so you just tell me when I need to advance.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me, and thanks for inviting me. Maybe just jump to the slide, that would be perfect. I mean, after Sebastian and Thomas, I think they share already quite a lot, but I think I want to share something more my personal path until now, and how I ended up as from going from a student to working for Sebastian actually, and also some personal advice, because I actually joined 3 HNPWs, and actually 2 of them online. So, and especially those people online who can't afford to come here, I had the same. I want to encourage you to, still be out there and show face. But could you go to the first, to my slide? No, maybe the second one actually. Maybe the second one. If you want, you can actually click through so you have the complete timeline. So this is my CV in a snapshot, exactly. So maybe let's go back to 2021. I mean, I completed my bachelor's degree. I did 2 internships, actually, also, no, 3 actually. I get to know Jörg, which was, he's also part of the organizing team, and I got to know about how he's engaging with ANDAC, this United Nations Disaster Assessment Coordination Team, which I already knew quite a lot about, but I thought it's too distant, I will never end up being there. But I mean, it was Jörg and Kenny actually starting this initiative, right? So I was happy enough to meet Jörg and to get to know about this group here. So the first time I joined was 2021 during COVID. So I thought, let's give it a try. And I think there's actually 2 great ways of engaging at HNPW. First, if you're a student and you actually really need an overview of what is the humanitarian sector. I mean, Sebastian said it, Thomas said it, it's actually just so much more than just the UN. I mean, if you look at my 2 internships, it's one with the German Ministry for Development Corporation, which is, as Sebastian said, development. So the other side of the coin, let's say, and actually, as he said, the true fix to a lot of problems we're responding to. But then you also see Deutsche Post DHL. I never thought I would end up in the private sector, and I figured that's not for me. But also they have a disaster management team. So actually I work for them, working together with Acha here. So they do disaster management at airports. I never knew about this. And this is just one example of how, for example, the private sector, or there's so many entities around. So please, I mean, this is my encouragement. Go into HNPW and don't only look into UN, because there are actually so many different actors and stakeholders, think tanks that are much more accessible as well, or a great starting point. Or maybe also might be more adhering to your work-life situation, and especially because the humanitarian sector is also sometimes challenging in this regard. So I was at 2021 exactly, so I actually just took the opportunity to get an overview because I didn't really know where to go. I wanted to study abroad. I need some inspiration. So that was the first year I joined. So I was listening actually more than being actively engaged. And then 2022, I moved to Italy. I knew I really wanted to be abroad and a humanitarian, but still I couldn't come to Geneva, while most of the people who are with Kenny were actually in Geneva. So I thought, oh, no, I mean, I will still join, but I was not very optimistic that any chances will come after that. But I actually ended up at the end of HNPW, there's the closing remarks, and I ended up being the speaker. So even though I was online, I ended up speaking. Actually, I also ended up volunteering online for my current team, just note taking. But I thought, okay, why not show face, listen in? And this actually brought me to my internship with Archer. So after HNPW was done, and I had volunteered for this team, they reached out to me and asked, like, look, we need an intern. Would you be interested? And this is the same team I'm working for now. So this is, I mean, yes, I was in the right moment at the right time, but this is just maybe one encouragement for you to be out there, engage, even though maybe you don't see a direct outcome, but go out, do maybe even just something as simple as note taking to get the chance to listen into meetings. For example, this was a private meeting. I would have the chance to listen in. Yeah, so maybe my personal advice really, I mean, you can have two things, right? If you only want an overview, perfect. But then also, if you already know you want to be in this field, we need to actively look and make connections. I would say be open to new topics, as Thomas said, get out of your comfort zone. I think that's the most important advice. And also be bold. I keep seeing, actually, I was just coming from a training in Austria. Most of them were skilled humanitarians. There was one student with me. I would also consider me still as a student. I just finished my master's degree a month ago. And she actually entered one or two discussions saying, yeah, I don't have experience, you know more than me. And I was afterwards speaking to her and saying, like, look, I think, yes, you don't have experience, but I think exactly what the sector needs is new ideas and challenging people and challenging the status quo. So that's my reminder to you, to be bold, to criticize. I mean, be kind, but criticize, because this is exactly what we need. We need change, we need new ideas. And this is also how you find, I think, like-minded people. So take the chance and connect to whoever is there, and get out of your comfort zone. I think those discussions are exactly where you find the people you want to be with and work with. Yeah, I think I will stop there.
Thank you, Anna. So if I may ask you, Anna, what was your first impression when you, like, the first time you joined HNPW? I'm sure you had some ideas from your study or from your background going into HNPW. Was there any difference you noticed between what you thought was going to happen and what actually happened? You're muted, Anna. Sorry.
Yeah, I realized. No. I mean, it's a bit challenging because the first time I joined online, and I remember filling out your questionnaire asking, like, what is your unique skill set? And I think back in the days, I thought, yeah, well, I'm a journalist. Why would they look for someone like me? So I think I got encouraged to, I mean, maybe you have skills you don't know about, and you just figure out while speaking to other people. So that's something that surprised me and also encouraged me. Like, I've been there, I've spoke to people, and I was like, yeah, true, I'm also good at coordination. Didn't know that was actually a skill to have. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also have like pictures from you. I think you were participating in those in a lot of events, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's to give you a snapshot of what we are doing. I mean, as I said, I work for Sebastian at the emergency response section, and this is actually one great example. I maybe also going back to what Sebastian said, it's a privilege to work here, and whatever kind of part of the cake you are, right? But this is just an idea, an example to give you. I was actually in Turkey in October 2022. That was 4 months before the earthquake hit. And we did an earthquake response exercise. I mean, it was pretty much irony that we were there, we trained, and then the earthquake actually happened. But maybe if you go to the next slides. This was the aftermath of the earthquake. And then if you go one step further, I mean, even me, most of my team, Sebastian left, basically everyone here left. I was stuck here because I was in internet at the time. And what you see here is the crisis room in Geneva. So also there again, you might not be there in person, but you can do so much even from remote. I mean, I was sitting here. On the right side, you see a screen of how many people were saved alive, the 165. And it's super rewarding. You think, yeah, you're not doing much, but actually you're part of a bigger thing. I mean, I did simple things like the organograms on the left. If you go one picture further, this is my organogram actually at the AFAD headquarters. AFAD is the emergency management authority of Turkey. This is one my colleague Winston explaining to Martin Griffith and the Turkish authorities. So Martin Griffith, the head of OCHA, so my boss, a simple organigram that I did. I mean, it might sound silly or seem silly, but I took this example to show you sometimes really small things can change a lot. Yeah. I don't know if there's one more picture, but I think, just
the response.
But yeah, okay.
I think this is a really good example of, this example illustrates a couple of things. Like, don't be afraid to help. I think same goes for me personally. Like the first time I volunteered, I was just helping with making spreadsheets, something super simple to me, like a VLOOKUP, but it helped people a lot. And that's, if you can prove such an immediate value, there is a reason for people to talk to you. It is a way in, right? So don't be afraid to volunteer for something mundane. I'm not saying getting coffee for Sebastian or Thomas. I'm sure they will appreciate it, but even such a thing is a way to connect with people and to help them. And also be aware that you do have skills and expertise, right? It's not because you might be new to the system that you don't know anything, right? There is skills you have. Like you said, Anna.
Don't underestimate and undermine yourself. I mean, I think there's so much you don't know about yourself, and that is yet to be explored. So be bold, really. Be bold and criticize, and think this is how you get into conversation that actually make you think, make you reflect, and help you figure out what you want to be working on.
Yeah. And if you find this part of the response information management interesting, then good news. Next Monday, we'll have a simulation where you can see why what Anna does add a lot of value, or you will experience firsthand where it's needed. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Thanks, Anna, for joining us. And we look forward to connecting with you, I think, later in the weeks as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks as well.
So the next part that we want to do is to get to know you a little bit, so the people who are attending, and in true online fashion, after 3 years of working online and pandemics, we set up a short interaction to get to know each other a little bit. Let me switch to the right presentation here. So I would ask you, for all of you, I will enable the chat as well. To join on WooClap. I will copy the link and put it in the chat to all of you. And then let me see if I can enable. Yeah. So I think if you go to that link, or you can use the QR code with your phone, you should be able to join the WooClap online. I'll just try it myself as well. You can just click the little thumb in the corner to show you there. I see most people are in. Okay, so this is just to get to know each other a little bit. My first question is, where are you from? So you could click the map indicating where you're from. Oh, so we have some people. Oh, okay, interesting. So I see people from joining who's currently it's evening, and people for whom it's really, really early morning. So welcome. Of course, a lot of concentration in Europe still. So I think one of the things here, I think also for my fellow organizers, Keto, Alex, and the others, is that this is something we do want to work on in the future, is make sure that we cover this map more, especially for the Global South. But I'm already happy to see that we have people joining from all the way from Australia, Indonesia, and the eastern sea coast of the United States. So thank you for sharing that. We'll go into next one is a bit more related to HNPW. So the question is, if an emergency situation happens now, look around you. What would be the thing you would take with you? So you can submit a picture. So what do you have on your desk or around you that you would take to an emergency response? And you can submit pictures here as well. So I would encourage you to take a picture. It works, you know, you might have to take a picture first. So laptops, definitely. Oh, a blanket. Nice. Coffee. Ah, nice. Passport. Oh, sorry. Yeah. What is that? What is this? Cookies. Okay, so we're not short on laptops if we deploy together, and it's good to know that somebody will bring coffee and somebody will bring cookies. So I think between us we're quite covered. You're welcome to submit multiple things, so I appreciate pictures. All right. Smiles. Very good. Interesting. Thank you so much all for sharing. And then we'll go to the last one, which is a controversial one. It builds on geopolitical tensions, but considering the map I just saw, I'm just curious to see the opinion of the people here in the crowd. Oh, Uno. Nice. Entertain. We got food, we got entertainment, you know, we'll be all set. Okay, so the last one. Coming up actually during the second week of HNPW, a critical global event. Who do you think will win Eurovision? And I was happy. It's good that we have people from Australia because they'll also be in the Eurovision contest. And I think on Tuesday and Thursday during HNPW next week there will be semifinals. So at least I know the Netherlands is in the first day final. So let's see where the results. Oh, can I see? Oh, Finland. Netherlands. Switzerland and Ukraine also doing well. Maybe we can already start agreeing on giving 12 points to others. So we'll make sure to include the results when we send out the presentation, so we can see in the end who was right. Okay, let's do one last one. Also, a big event coming this summer. If you could win an Olympic medal in any of the disciplines, which one would it be for you?
And yeah, I definitely didn't just have to Google all the Olympic sports real quick to figure out what they actually are.
I think there's a lot these days.
Yeah.
I also know breakdance is on the program, and BMX biking and climbing.
Skateboarding
Indeed.
recently was added. Yeah, but climbing, as a climber myself, it's like silly climbing. It's fast climbing.
Esports.
Speed climbing then. Thanks.
All right, it's an interesting and active group. I think I myself would be more in the event organization than the actual sports, but thanks everyone for sharing. I just conclude. I just want to move towards concluding the session, outlining the next step, because this is just the first one of 5 more sessions, one of 6 that we're organizing as the next humanitarians. So first of all, as you heard from our speakers, we want you to participate in the sessions, not just as a passive bystander or somebody who listens in, but somebody who speaks up, but also takes notes. At the end of HNPW, next Thursday, we'll have our closing session. And in that closing session, we're going to take all your input, we're going to take all your notes and actually formulate what the next generation of humanitarians would like to tell the current generation. Because on Friday, in the plenary closing, there will be space for us, actually for you, the next humanitarians, to share a few words on what you would like to tell the humanitarian community. But to do that, we do need input. So as you are going through the sessions, whether they're from the next humanitarians, network-specific ones, or others, make notes. Make notes for yourself so you can refer to them later. Make notes of any ideas you have. Make notes of things that bewilder you or you find fascinating or strange. Any ideas you have, solutions, innovations, any criticisms, anything is welcome. So we encourage you to take notes, and we want to work with you next week on Thursday, May 9th, to compare those notes and to see if we can formulate a vision. For example, it might turn out that we feel that young people or the next generation doesn't have enough of a voice, or that there isn't enough space in the humanitarian system to welcome, for example, students or early career professionals need more support in making next steps. That we think inclusion should be a higher priority topic, or that localization is where the next focus should be, or that AI is a threat and not an opportunity. So whatever it is, we will work on it next Thursday, but we do need your input. So we encourage you, take notes, whether you do it on paper or digitally, and keep them with you so we can talk about them, collate them, compare them in our closing session. So just make notes. Any observation, any idea, anything that you find fascinating is welcome. As we said, we have a couple of sessions planned moving forward. So one is this Thursday, how to engage youth in the humanitarian field. These will be example cases hosted by Michael Wang from Global Youth Philanthropy about how young people are working on projects to increase resilience, preparedness, and response to crisis or to risks. Next Monday, we have a simulation, which will be partly in person in Geneva and also an option to join hybrid. At the moment, the simulation is at capacity. So if you registered, you will get the meeting links and the details to join. If you do not longer want to participate, please deregister yourself so we can offer the capacity to others. So that will be next Monday. Keep in mind that this session will be a bit longer, so it runs from 2 to 5, and we'll send you the details later. It will be really interactive, hands-on, so not a plenary presentation. It will be really putting you in the hot seat of managing the information and coordination of a crisis. And then next Tuesday, Kjetil, can I give you the floor for those for the next 2 sessions? I think you're
Sure.
always name.
Sure, happy to touch on those. The next 2 sessions are quite exciting, I think, because they both have space for the next generation to share their own insights, but also have some very practical stories to be shared and practical insights from people in the humanitarian field. First one on Tuesday, May 6th from 11 to 12:30, which will be hybrid, is Next Humanitarians: A Future Outlook. In this one, we have a variety of people who are early in their humanitarian careers who have found a passion project of some sort. They have found some interest, something that's really been their niche so far. And it's an opportunity for those people to present that over the course of 5 to 10 minutes. We still have open slots. So if you are interested, actually, if you have a particular niche interest that you want to share with people or an idea that you want to workshop, this is a great place to do it. If you just want feedback on a new idea, feel free to reach out. We can have a little chat and see if you want to fit in there. Also, feel free just to join and listen to all the other ideas and also ask questions of your own. The other session happening on Tuesday, of particular note, is getting started in the humanitarian aid work field. This will be happening in the afternoon from 2 to 3:30. And during this session, we will have testimony from 3 different people who are actively working in the humanitarian environment at the moment in 3 different phases of life. One who is in her first 5 years of work in the humanitarian in space, in how it's been to get involved and to start to grow in her responsibilities. We have another who's in her first 10 years of her humanitarian work. And this is someone who's had a little bit more experience, has been around the block, and is still growing in that space. The final person that will be speaking is someone who is more of a senior position, has really seen a lot of what the humanitarian world has to offer, and has a little bit more of that historical context for how things have changed over the years. So I look forward to hearing any questions and insights for all of these different people with different backgrounds from throughout the humanitarian environment. Kenny, you want to cover the closing session?
Yeah, thanks, Kjetil. So we already talked a bit about the closing session. So that's really a moment that we want to get back together with the next humanitarians and look back at HNPW24, talk about what we've learned, what we've observed, any insights that we think is important to share, but also look at the next steps. After HNPW24, what do we want to do moving forward? In terms of network, in terms of helping each other, in terms of staying engaged and connected. So the closing session is really a moment of reflection on HNPW24 and the state of the art of the humanitarian system, but also a moment to take that and any ideas there are and use that moving forward. So it will be hopefully highly interactive. So please join that closing session as well, as I said, with your notes and your insights to start the discussion. Then, in addition to these formal sessions, we also have some social events. For those of you who are traveling to Geneva and joining us in person, on Monday, May 6th, after the simulation, there is Friendly Faces. We will, each on their own cost, but jointly we will go into Geneva, find an informal setting to get to know each other. I think Alex and Kjetil, you're taking the lead on that. So not sure if you want to add on something on that.
It's just an opportunity that, especially if it's your first time at HNPW, you might walk in every day and wonder who to talk to. And so this is just a way to get to know some people so that when you walk in on Tuesday, when you walk into a session on Wednesday, when you walk into a session on Thursday, you recognize another face, you have someone to sit next to or to ask questions about or to discuss things over lunch the next few days. Just a way to casually get to know each other in an open space.
Yep.
Yeah, indeed. I'd like to add that, the attendance here will be very diverse. Everyone's coming from different backgrounds. So it's a great way to really get to know different perspectives of the humanitarian realm, and I really recommend it to everyone.
It's also a great way to express what your interests are, because jointly we can help each other in the next weeks. You know, maybe you have attended a session and you think, hey, this will be really relevant for those persons that we met on Monday. So that's one. And then on Wednesday, there is a general reception at the HNPW. And following that reception, for those of you who are interested, we'll again dig the group somewhere to go for drinks. Usually after that reception, a lot of people will disappear with their networks or contacts they already have. So if that happens, that's fine. But we also want to make sure that you have a place to go or group to join for drinks as well. But that we'll explain more on next week. And then finally, for those of you who are not traveling to Geneva, you might have heard there's a lot of networking. There's coffee breaks where interesting conversations happen. So if you're not traveling to Geneva, you might not see those coffee breaks and might not have those informal interactions. But to help you with that, we are trying something new called virtual buddies. So in a few coffee breaks on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I should change that from Monday. We want to offer you the option to also get to meet some humanitarians. So if you book one of those slots, we'll make sure that in the coffee breaks, in the exhibition area, we will grab people we know and have them meet with you in an informal setting. It's just catching up with whoever we find in that reception area to talk to you. So it's not a specific topic. It's not on a specific subject or interest. It's just getting to know people and saying hi to them, asking a bit of questions, and we'll facilitate that interaction. So the virtual buddies is really a way to informally network in the coffee breaks, even if you're not in Geneva in person. It's the first time we're trying this, but we're excited, and we welcome the opportunity to try this as well. Anything that you want to add on that, Keto or Alex? All right. And then finally, we will tell you, please stay in touch with us. You got already some emails from us with contact information. There is a WhatsApp group that you can join where you could ask questions if you need support, where you can also help each other. So you can join the WhatsApp group. The link is on the screen, but also in the email itself. And I'll copy the link in the chat in a minute as well. And of course, for those of you who are attending in person, we'll have a stand in the exhibition area where you can find us that you can use as a bit of base of operation. So if you're lost, if you need some advice, if you want to meet fellow next humanitarians, or we can help you with something, just come to our exhibition stand. It's right near the coffee, stand 37, but you will see the banner, you will see the logos. This is where you can find us throughout HNPW in person if you need us. And again, for those of you who are joining virtually or online, you can use the WhatsApp group to stay connected, stay in touch. If you need any help finding your way around HNPW, we'll do our best to help you there as much as we can. With that, I think those were the key things that we wanted to share in this opening session. I'm just going to ask Keto if there's anything you want to share before we conclude the session.
Mostly that I look forward to having y'all take part in a lot of these sessions. This will probably be the session you attend that has the most talking at you. All the others I know are quite experiential, ways to get involved, way to ask questions and have your ideas out there. And then, of course, as Thomas Peter was saying earlier, really take a look at the sessions that exist and really branch out of your comfort zone. Try to join a session or a field that you have really little information about. Try looking at an organization or network that you haven't heard of yet in this environment, and you might learn something new or find yourself in a new space that surprised you. And give input, ask questions, just be seen, get noticed. It's the way to go in these kind of situations. But I'm mostly looking forward to seeing y'all either virtually through virtual buddies, hybrid in the events, or in person in Geneva.
Yeah. Alex, anything from your end before we conclude the session?
No, not really. One last thing is I look forward to seeing you all, whether that's in person or online. And yeah, I hope to get to know you all better.
All right.
Thank you.
thanks everyone for joining. Again, we'll make sure to share all this information with you tomorrow in an email, so for your reference. But hopefully this session, as Kit said, it's providing you with information, not much interaction, but hopefully it will equip you with some tools, with some knowledge, with some insights to get the most out of HNPW. And we look forward to seeing you in one of our other sessions. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll look forward to seeing you throughout the HNPW.